Welcome to a brand new podcast here at the Sport Universe, running up the score with the Fantasy Gods. I'm Kieran. You know me from the Nick Universe, the Yankee Universe, and I took care of the draft coverage here back in April. This is my friend Ronit.
Yep, I'm Ronit. I'm new here along with the podcast, but I had to join. I had to hop on because me and Kieran were the Fantasy Gods.
We are coming at you live. Listen, early here in the fantasy season. Maybe you're listening. Maybe you're thinking you're 0-3. Maybe you're thinking you're out of it. Relax, you're not out of it. Every year in one of my leagues, there's somebody that starts at 0-3 that makes a run in the playoffs. It's not about how you start, it is how you finish, and we're going to help you get to that finish line here on Running Up the Score.
Yeah, and I mean, that's literally me every season in one of my leagues. So always. Oh, and like you can ask my cousin who's in that league too. Literally just that's the running joke. Like always, every season, it's like 0-3, 0-2. Next thing you know, I'm in the playoffs.
Exactly.
And don't sweat it if you lose too. Sometimes the Fantasy Gods do lose. Even us. Like, yeah. Kieran knows that more than anyone. I mean, last year, he lost the entire league.
We don't have to talk about that. We don't have to talk about that.
I think they should all see the punishment. Let's show them what you did.
It's in the past.
No.
All right, fine.
You got them.
Levi high jeans sitting right, keep that ass.
Wow.
Instagram flex, basic hoes getting gassed up. Niggas in my face, boy, bad, nigga back.
Yeah.
I'm a city girl.
All right, so that's what I did there. You know, it happens to the best of us, but don't get last. You know, try to avoid doing that if you can, obviously. So now we're gonna go into the Thursday night game. We're gonna dive right into it. This is how this is gonna work. We're gonna go through each of the games, break down who you need to start, who you're shying away from. We're also gonna talk about the most popular waiver wire additions and kind of how they stack up to the borderline players in some of the games we're talking about. So let's start out now with the Thursday night game, Jacksonville and Cincinnati. We've got the last two number one picks going at it here. Cincinnati is favored by 7.5 points. The over-under is 45.5. In terms of must starts, set it and forget it. You've got Mixon, and I'd say Chase is bordering in that category now.
I'd put Chase in that category, at least for the time being. We haven't seen anything otherwise, but also all the hype. Everyone talks about Chase, of course, but Marvin Jones. Mm-hmm. My God, Marvin Jones.
Yeah.
Is back doing what he was doing when he had that first career year with Darrell Bevell, and he's back with him again in Jacksonville. Mm-hmm. This is what I thought would happen with Marvin Jones, and it's playing out extremely well. I mean, he's putting up wide receiver 2 numbers, like depending on, and that's with the offense doing horrible right now, the whole entire Jacksonville offense. So if the offense gets going, like you never know, Marvin Jones could start putting up some fringe wide receiver 1 numbers.
I would agree with that. Both of these wide receiver trios are actually pretty interesting now that I think about it, because they came into the season very similarly. You had the 3. They were all getting drafted around the same ADP. You didn't know which one to break out. You didn't know which one to pick. This guy knew which one to pick. He picked Marvin Jones. I was high on Jamar Chase as well. It's looking like those are the two that are separating themselves. But with T. Higgins out, I'd say Boyd is somebody that I would consider flexing for sure.
I'm 100% starting Boyd and Chase, whoever I have on my roster.
And now going to James Robinson. We're back on James Robinson. We've talked about him. It was a bit concerning going into last week. He picked it up last week. I've heard some people say you should try to trade him. You should try to cash in on that big game. Where do you stand on that?
I definitely disagree. I think that first 2 weeks, I mean, you got to remember, Urban Meyer, new head coach in the NFL. He's never played at this level before. And in college, maybe you can just pass all over teams. In the NFL, unless you're maybe Buffalo or Kansas City, that is not going to work. And Urban Meyer is starting to realize that, and that's evident from the workload that James Robinson has been getting, and there's been a steady uptick in in the volume he's receiving, and on top of that, he also has to deal with Trevor Lawrence at the start of the season, who is a rookie QB. They might not have the chemistry. He might not be hitting him in the receiving game the way he should be. And last week, more so than the touchdown, that was the biggest thing to me, actually. It was the fact that James Robinson had such a nice receiving output. And I think he's really going to be what you wanted him to be for most of the season going forward.
Yeah, I think Urban Meyer, he's realized, he tried to draft Travis Etienne. He tried at the beginning of the season to show his Ohio State guy some love, Carlos Hyde. But in the NFL, you got to go with your most talented running back. And this isn't college where you can scheme that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And James Robinson is the most talented running back on that roster, and Urban Meyer is starting to realize that. So if you held on to James Robinson, keep holding on to him. That's what we say there.
And honestly, if you have another James Robinson owner in your league who thinks he can sell high, then that might be an opportunity for you to take advantage of that and actually try to buy low on him. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think that James Robinson is going to be a lot more like week 3 than weeks 1 and 2 going forward. People may not be realizing that who are dealing him.
So for the DJ Chark owner, definitely you're a bit skittish on him, but where are you on DJ Chark? I'm personally, he's a borderline, he's a desperation flex play to me.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's someone you play if you look at the matchup and you're like, wow, this is a ridiculous matchup. I need someone who can potentially put up 30 off fluke, well, not fluke, but just random big plays. Mm-hmm. DJ Chark, someone who can do that potentially. So if you're in a situation like that, you're playing him. If you have any better options and are not in a situation like that, I'm looking towards the other options on my team.
Yeah. Quickly, I think Cincinnati's defense, even though I think this game will go over the point total, I think Cincinnati's defense... Listen, Trevor Lawrence isn't one of these rookie quarterbacks that can kind of be sheltered. He is the guy there. He has to throw the ball a lot, and he's going to make a couple mistakes. Even if he plays well, I think he makes 1 or 2 really big mistakes, and you could gamble on a pick 6 there. Again, Trevor Lawrence... as opposed to maybe a Mac Jones who can play it a little safer, it's all on Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville. There's nothing else there. He's the guy. And even the best rookie quarterbacks, if you have them throw 35, 40 times a game, one slip-up is all you need for a fantasy defense. So I might consider streaming Cincinnati.
Agreed.
I think we can move on to Washington and Atlanta. Washington, a road 1.5 point favorite, over under 47. In terms of a must start, you're still firing up Ridley. I know he's been disappointing, but I would still do it. If you have Kyle Pitts with the draft capital you sent with him, he's got to be in your tight end slot. Though I personally really struck out. I thought he was going to have a big game against the Giants. Kind of struck out on that one. This Falcons offense for fantasy, man, it's been frustrating, and I keep buying into them.
It always is.
And it's but they should be good. They never are. Even if they drafted Kyle Pitts, and hasn't really worked out there so far. Anyone else? Oh yeah, obviously Cordero Patterson. Let's really dive into him.
That to me is the sole bright spot on that Atlanta offense. I think I've been high on Cordero Patterson since his week 1 output of only 8 points, and you see where those 8 points came from, and it's oh wow, Cordero Patterson is legitimately in this offense.
Yeah.
And you see what he's doing now, and it's he's involved. He's involved, and he's getting the value points. He's the one getting receptions, and that's big. That's big in any PPR league. I think he is the new James White, for the duration of James White's injury. I think he has more upside than James White typically had on a given week.
Thing with the Cordero is he's kind of taking a bit of everyone's target share. You look, Calvin Ridley, he's going to be
Yeah.
People were saying he could be potentially the wide receiver 1 in fantasy. Not just a wide receiver 1, the wide receiver 1. Takes a little bit from him. Oh, Kyle Pitts, star tight end. He's eating at his targets. Mike
Exactly.
Davis, he's going in. He's absorbing all of these players' targets.
He is.
It's a pretty nice share there, especially with Mike Davis. And before we move on from the Atlanta backfield discussion, so I'll say Mike Davis was somebody who, going into the season, the only reason he was getting drafted where he was because people said, oh, who else is there? He has to get the carries. He has to be the workhorse. And usually this is a common theme. If that's the only reason a player is getting drafted, he's not going to live up to that ADP because there's always going to be, another running back to come out of that backfield. Unless you are a Derrick Henry or a Nick Chubb. And even Nick Chubb has Kareem Hunt, but it's still, unless you're one of those guys, always be wary of that. There's always, backfields change a lot in the NFL. And I think it's easy to forget that before the draft. That is the case. Moving to Washington, you had a good call at being cautious of Terry McLaurin last week versus Tre'Davious White, but you're firing him up here versus Atlanta.
Yeah, and look, even last week, I was cautious about it. I tempered my expectations a ton, but I figured that he would at least put up about 10 points or something, which is what he ended up getting. And you're still firing up Terry McLaurin. It's a little bit of a disappointment, but 10 points in a brutal matchup, I'm okay with that,
Yeah, I think that's where, I don't think you pivot away from Terry McLaurin or any star receiver in general if they have a tough matchup. That's where I think you pivot potentially. You play more of a boom or bust flex, or you play more of a big play flex. You adjust your lineup to get those points elsewhere if you think McLaurin isn't going to. But you're firing up McLaurin in this game, clearly. Logan Thomas is somebody that's really been a factor in this offense. Now we go Antonio Gibson.
The one wild card on this offense.
He came through for fantasy owners last week. However, it was just one big play, and that was the only pass he caught.
Yeah.
Antonio Gibson.
2 targets, I'm pretty sure, right?
Yeah.
There was a ridiculously low volume for him, and this has been the case all season. He's getting the rush attempts sometimes, for sure. But even those, J.D. McKissic has already bolstered a goal line touchdown on week 2, and he's not getting the receptions, which is the whole point of drafting Antonio Gibson as high as most people did. That
we both did.
Yeah, we both did because he was a wide receiver in college. He was supposed to be a full down back, getting some receiving work and rushing work. And now I know that J.D. McKissic can be frustrating. I know it's especially frustrating in fantasy. But I will say, he is a very talented pass catcher. He's a playmaker. He's a playmaker. You can tell when you're watching him in the receiving game. I fully understand why the football team is utilizing him the way they are.
Yeah.
But that doesn't change the fact that, Antonio Gibson is just being completely underutilized in the receiving game. I don't see how it's not at least a little more of a split in terms of the receiving work. But Gibson just really is not doing much at all on that front.
Yeah, McKissic, it looks like he is getting more targets per route run. I'm not sure we should look at that stat, but McKissic is eating into his volume. Where are you in terms of Antonio Gibson? Are you looking to trade him? Are you looking to hold on to him? Are you worried going forward into the season?
I think that you can trade him if you have a suitable partner that you think is a good deal for you. But I wouldn't trade him for way too low of value because there's definitely a lot of upside for him that remains there, despite the disappointing start to the season. And again, it was one big play last week, but it was also one big play against a brutal matchup, and he still made the play, and regardless of that matchup, and ended with 17 points. So, there should be better days as he gets easier matchups as well. It's just the volume is definitely concerning. And I don't know if he's going to live up to the running back one that you drafted him to be.
You might need to temper the RB1 expectations for the whole season. He might be a more borderline kind of guy, even in a high-end RB2. kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, okay, I think we can move on to Houston and Buffalo. Actually, do you think J.D. McKissick is viable to be a stash in any league? Like, is he a viable pickup?
I think you pick him up and stash him in any league with like 12 or more people.
Yeah, okay.
Like if Gibson gets hurt, then like Miss McKissick is gonna be a great start.
Yeah, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
So we're now moving on to Houston and Buffalo. Houston side of the ball, it's Brandon Cooks and no one else. Even in a brutal matchup versus Tre'Davious White, I think I'm a little less concerned about him than I was with Terry McLaurin because Houston really focuses on getting Cooks the ball. And in a PPR league, you're still firing up Cooks. And then other than that, there's no one. I would even in a 12-team league, I can't see starting anyone in their backfield. I can't see starting their quarterback. And I can't see starting even like Andre Miller. Anthony Miller, I'm sorry.
But yeah, no. I agree with you. I agree with you. The only thing that I slightly disagree with you on is Brandon Cooks. I definitely still am like slightly tempering my expectations for him.
Yeah.
I know that you don't seem to be fazed by the matchup much at all. Me, on the other hand, I'm tempering expectations. I don't expect him to necessarily put up more than like 14, 15 points or something, but I do think that he has a better output than Terry McLaurin, only again just because his team gets him the ball like in more ways, and he's more a focal point to the team.
Now listen, is Brandon Cooks right now is the wide receiver 6. Is Brandon Cooks going to finish the year as the wide receiver 6? Probably not. Maybe. Is he going to score 20 points every single game? Probably not. So I would agree that my expectations are a little bit lowered. I just think that you're not phased enough by this matchup to pivot away from him. In my opinion. Maybe you bump him down to a flex. Maybe. If he already was your flex, keep him there. But I would say that, by the way, Bills 16-point favorites over the Texans. By far the biggest spread of the season. Over and under is at 47. Buffalo, you're trying to pick up anyone you can in this offense. If Emmanuel Sanders is still out there, you try to find a way to get him on your roster. Dawson Knox as a tight end, he's a viable option. You want a piece of this Bills offense, especially going up against Houston. Interestingly, though, Houston has not been bad against fantasy wide receivers. I think they're like the 9th fewest, but I'm still firing up all of those.
I think that's also just because like people get so ahead of them, though.
Yeah.
Like there's no garbage time production against the Texans because the Texans are the ones producing in garbage time.
That's true, but I think the Bills will definitely keep their foot on the gas.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to find a way to get Cole Beasley in my lineup as a flex, or he's a wide receiver 3. Emmanuel Sanders, same thing. Obviously, you're firing up Diggs. The Buffalo running backs, I'm still pretty scared by them just because it's kind of like you never know which one's going to go off. Are you considering the Buffalo backfield this week? I'm personally kind of staying away from them as a general policy. I'm kind of scared of it, but what about you?
I think I view the Bills' backfield as similar to the 49ers.
Yeah, I was about
like
to say
you said, it's like you never know who's going to be getting the touches. You don't know how that the whole backfield is going to play out, and that's just it's very nervous starting any and stressful starting any Buffalo running back. But just like the 49ers, like you know that if the run game is going for the Bills, like they're scoring enough to like make whoever is that starting running back for the game like a viable option. So if you want to go out on a limb and just like take a chance on one of the running backs, like hoping that they end up being the one like with more touches and hopefully getting some touchdowns or something, then I'm not opposed to that. But it's probably not going to be pretty watching the game.
Yeah, who would you, if say they do want to take the shot, would you go with Moss or Singletary right now?
I would go with Moss right
Yeah,
now,
I'd go with
only because he's getting so many more touchdowns than Singletary.
Let me just throw a quick thing out there. Would you say you have a choice between Zach Moss or Tyson Williams? Who would you go with this week?
I'm going into the if this was 1 week prior, I would have said Williams for sure.
Yeah.
But honestly, now I'm thinking Zach Moss, because the only reason why Williams was seen as so good is because the perception was that he had a secure hold on volume.
Mm-hmm.
But now all of a
Yeah,
sudden
really
that premise is blown out of the water as well.
Yeah, they're finally going to the committee in Baltimore.
Yeah.
Very disappointing for the Tyson Williams owner, which I am. Emmanuel Sanders, I don't think this is a fluke. We were talking about this a little bit. I think that you were correct. He cuts into Diggs a little more than he cuts into Beasley. Beasley, you don't have to worry about as much Emmanuel Sanders, because Beasley has his slot role secured. He's going to do what he does. He's not really impacted by Sanders. Diggs is a little bit, because they play similar roles. But listen, Stephon Diggs, how many passes did he catch last year? He had an insane amount. You obviously expect that to regress a little bit. I think the ceiling has come down from Diggs a little bit. Just naturally, you have the touchdown regression, just a little bit of regression. It's kind of like Michael Thomas was. You can't expect Diggs to lead the league in receptions every single year. But, so I'd say temper your expectations a little bit for him, but still, obviously, he's a wide receiver one. He's still insanely talented. And this game's going to be a blowout in all likelihood. And now let's go on to Detroit and Chicago. Chicago, 2.5-point home favorites over the Lions. Over-under is a pitiful 42 points. Allen Robinson, man, he's scary right now to me. And it's tough to say, but I don't think you're wrong in considering benching him this week. Obviously, you're not going to drop. Calm down. Don't drop Allen Robinson. I don't even know. The thing is, he's kind of I don't even know how much you could get for him in a trade right now.
Yeah, because you'd have to trade with someone who's going only by name. Yeah. And there are plenty of people who do that. Don't get me wrong, but it's pretty rare, Yeah, and you have to if you know someone is going by names though or something, then definitely try to deal with Robinson. That could work out well for you. But I mean, most people are gonna at least look at the stats and be oh nah, he's not doing anything. But I do think what's tough about Allen Robinson is that I anticipate that he will be doing well by the middle of the season, end of the season or something. I think the situation will sort itself out eventually as he gains chemistry and as whoever his QB is feeling more comfortable on the offense. But it's just at what cost? How many weeks are you gonna lose from Allen Robinson putting up 4 points in your starting lineup if you keep rolling with him? I think personally, you leave him on the bench until further notice, until you actually see, and that means that you're probably gonna miss out on a good Allen Robinson game at some point. But yeah, I'd still rather miss out on one good Allen Robinson game than keep him in my lineup and have him doing poorly for who knows however many games.
Yeah, and my thing with Allen Robinson is why I drafted him in one of my leagues was because he seems like a guy that's kind of QB proof. He's had bad quarterbacks his whole career, but now the problem is at least he had a full season, he had preseason to develop chemistry with those bad quarterbacks. This one, he doesn't know who's going to be his quarterback. 1 week it's Andy Dalton, this week it's Justin Fields. Justin Fields is playing terrible, Andy Dalton is, and it's the constant hoopla too. This could be a situation where Justin Fields and Andy Dalton could flip-flop multiple times. Especially if Fields keeps playing that way, we could we might not know. The Bears might not fully settle on their starting quarterback for a while, and that's what's most scary to me about Allen Robinson. I have to agree with you. If you have, obviously not everyone can bench Allen Robinson, but if you have even like a Cole Beasley, I personally I'm in that situation right now. I'm leaning towards Beasley.
I would do Beasley 100%.
Right now, I mean, the good news, there is some light in the fact that he did get 11 targets week 1. He got he led the team in targets, I believe, last week.
Yeah.
He had 6 targets. He did the best out of any Bears receiver. But, I mean, when you only throw for 1 passing yard, on offense, the Bears, that was disgusting.
It was.
You're playing David Montgomery. That's it right now. That's the only surefire startup on the Bears offense at the moment.
I think you still keep an eye on Darnell Mooney for the progression of the season, but he's even lower than Allen Robinson, of course, for the time being. But we'll see.
We'll see what happens there. On the Lions side, you've got Swift, who you've got to start. You've got Hawkinson. Obviously, you're plugging him in. Is there any one that's borderline on the Lions? I think it's just Swift and Hawk.
Yeah, honestly, I think it is Swift and Hawk. I mean, I personally still think that you can stream Jared Goff any given week, just because there's probably going to be a bunch of garbage time almost every game. I think there's tons of better QB options than Goff, but I think he's someone that any given week you can just stream him and hope that garbage time he'll just rack up a bunch of yardage.
Especially him in a Hawk stack also might not be the worst idea, but and then Chicago's defense, a viable option as well. Let's go to Carolina and Dallas. Dallas comes in as a 4.5 point home favorite, 50.5 over under, so expecting it to be kind of high scoring. The boys of Vegas.
Chuba.
I
mean, Kieran, there's something about the way that the Panthers use their running backs, isn't it? No question, CMC is an extremely talented running back, one of the best running backs. But we saw this last year too with Mike Davis.
Yeah.
CMC gets hurt, Mike Davis steps in, and all of a sudden, Mike Davis is out there putting up numbers that look like McCaffrey.
Yeah, he didn't maintain it the whole season, but he was for a time, and Chuba could definitely do that. It was clear on Thursday night after McCaffrey went out who the lead back was going to be.
Yeah,
it's Chuba.
He stepped in and on short notice put up 10 points already, which if he ended with if you started a whole game, if Chuba starts the whole game this week and ends with 10 points, that's still not horrible as a flex play. But I anticipate much more than 10 because he's going to have time to really prepare with the team and get all those first team reps, and he's going to come in more ready for the role. And if he can put up 10 points on limited time, then I think he has easy potential to match what CMC was doing, or at least come close to what CMC was doing.
Yeah,
I mean,
CMC is still
because the thing is that he put up 10 points, and that wasn't even with a touchdown. He could really cash in at some point in the game.
Yes, I would agree. I'd say fire up Chuba. I mean, if you spent that fab on him, then you should start him. I'm playing him over. If you're a guy like me who's kind of in on Tyson, I'm playing him over Tyson Williams. I'm playing him over Zach Moss. Some other guys we've talked about. I'm playing him over a Sony Michel type of guy. I'm definitely pretty high on Chuba this week. Especially in our game, I see as a potential shootout in Dallas. Dallas's offense is rolling right now. You want CD, obviously. You want Amari Cooper, Zeke. Even Tony Pollard has a standalone flex play, even though the hype around him, I think, has rightfully died down.
Yeah.
I think even if you looked at Zeke, he was still on the field for about 3/4 of the snaps, even when the games where Pollard was outscoring him, and that has come to light in a Monday night game against the Eagles. That came to light. So Zeke is back to his RB1 status, which is a big relief for Zeke owners, but don't completely give up on Pollard. Just because he's not, maybe you picked him up thinking he'd be like a league winner, maybe you were thinking he'd be the kind of 50-50 with Zeke. That's not going to happen, but when Pollard's on the field, they're looking to get him the ball.
Yeah.
And that's valuable. You know, even if he's only on the field for 25% of the snaps, if he's getting targeted 1 out of every 2 times he's on the field or whatever, that's still volume. He's still getting volume. So I am borderline flex. There are definitely some better options, but Pollard's definitely not a guy you cut because he's not taking over in Dallas. So you got anything to add to that?
Wait, what?
Do you have anything to like add or?
No, I think you covered everything on Pollard. And just going back to Carolina real quick, along with Chuba, of course, DJ Moore, you're starting, no question. Sam Darnold, you can 100% stream in most weeks as well, I believe. Especially this week when they're playing Dallas. And that should be a high-scoring game. And if it's high-scoring only on the Cowboys side, then like even then you can hope for some garbage time production. And then the last thing on Carolina's offense is Robbie Anderson.
Oof.
What do you think? Because I am out on Robbie Anderson. I'm not dropping him yet, but I would honestly be close to dropping him if I saw someone better.
I don't think there's gonna be anyone better on the waiver wire. I guess a little bit higher, but I'm not putting him anywhere in my lineup. I saw his phrase from the fantasy footballers. They said he's kind of in, fantasy purgatory. You can't cut him, but you can't play him. And so it's not a great place to be with Robbie Anderson right now, but he's got to show it. But the thing is, like, even if he does have a big week, he's so inconsistent that, like, I might not even start him even if after he has a big week.
Exactly. That's my problem with him. You can't... He's an unpredictable player, and generally, I just stay as far away as I can from the unpredictable players.
Yeah. So, it's definitely just the DJ Moore show there. And now we're going to go on and get any piece of the Dallas offense you can. I mean, even Dalton Schultz, he put up tight. He was a tight end.
Yeah.
Indianapolis going on the road to play Miami. Miami is a 2-point favorite. The over-under is 43 points. I don't know how Carson Wentz is playing right now with like 2 broken ankles or whatever, but this man, I mean, I guess he's trying to prove that he's more durable after his battles with injury, but more power to you, Carson. But
and he still supported a good output from Michael Pittman last week. I think you're still starting Michael Pittman for sure. Like that's a great flex play. Maybe even like wide receiver 3, wide receiver 2 play. But Jonathan Taylor, massively underperforming right now based on expectations. Like came into the season, people were thinking he's an RB1. I like right now based on his numbers, and I'm not saying that this is how I view him for the whole season, but for the first 3 weeks, if you just look at the numbers and don't look at who it was, he's like a flex play.
Yeah, and I think he's kind of like, he's not the workhorse that we thought he was going to be. Nyheim Hines is really cutting into his carries. I think Nyheim Hines, I mean, we knew that going into the season, but he has some standalone value. And I personally am gonna keep him as one of my 2 running backs. I think he's still one more dud week, and I'm really panicking with Jonathan Taylor. But you, as a Jonathan Taylor owner, what are you doing with him right now?
I think I'm playing him at my flex. There's just too much opportunity with Miami. Like, they have good defenders. But, at the end of the day, they're not really performing that well so far this season.
Yeah, which is surprising.
They're one of the worst teams against fantasy running backs. So, I think you have to start them this week in particular for sure. But this week is also going to be telling, I think. I mean, if Jonathan Taylor cannot get enough volume or, do enough with the volume that he gets this week against Miami, that's going to be a major concern. I mean, like, I benched Taylor last week, and it paid off for me. I just can't afford to do that this week because I lost A.J. Brown.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like, Jonathan Taylor, like, he's really just massively underperforming right now. And what's so peculiar to me is that he gained more. He inched close to that workhorse role at the end of the season last season. But what it feels like right now is extremely reminiscent of his rookie season. It's like he's regressed back into the role that he had at the start of the last season, where he's like minimally being used, just like 50-50 split, and like as if they don't see him as like ready to have more work. But like
and
we saw him build up to that already.
The problem was that was acceptable last year because you expected it, and you drafted him lower. Mm-hmm. If you spend a second round pick on Jonathan Taylor, even a third round pick on Jonathan Taylor, like, you can't have that. So I would say that in terms of Jonathan Taylor being an RB1, he's kind of like that Antonio Gibson, where you might want to temper that. You know, you might not want to think of him as an RB1 anymore. Mm-hmm. You know, it's 3 weeks into the season now already. We're going into week 4. So if he hasn't shown you that he can be an RB1 yet, like, I'm a little nervous about that. If he is your RB1, I'm really looking to get another stud running back on my team, even if I have to lose some receiver depth to do it, or even have to lose a star receiver to do it. I would definitely be looking to do that. In terms of, Pittman, I'm still pretty high on Pittman just because he's going to get a lot of volume.
Yeah,
you know, he has shown a lot of chemistry with Wentz. Like, T.Y. is washed, and there really isn't anyone else on the Colts offense besides the running backs that are going to get targets at all. Miami, just in terms of Miami, the football team, I think it was kind of concerning how it didn't seem like there was much of a drop-off between Tua and Jacoby Brissett.
Yeah.
Which, if you are a Dolphins fan, that's concerning. But it's not concerning if you have anyone else on the Dolphins offense in fantasy.
Yeah, Devontae Parker put up the exact same stat line pretty much that he did with Tua. Myles Gaskin, a little bit lower. He's another person like Mike Davis, actually, where it's like coming into the season, it was like, oh, Gaskin could be really good. Like, who else is there?
Exactly.
All of a sudden, Malcolm Brown is there. And you still have Salvon Ahmed, and it's like he's not getting that full workload like people thought he would, and it's fine. Like, Myles Gaskin, like, it also wasn't like Mike Davis where people like thought he was gonna be like some crazy running back. Yeah. So it's fine. Like, he is still putting up flex value. You're still gonna start him as that flex.
Yeah, of course. I would definitely flex Gaskin. Just because not even workhorse backs, but lead backs are hard to come by. This receiving core, it's hard. One of them isn't really breaking out. I mean, Will Fuller, he looked like he banged himself up in overtime of that game. We'll have to monitor that. But Devontae Parker, like you said, put up the same stat line. Maybe he's a desperation flex. You know, Will Fuller.
I'm not playing Devontae Parker, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I think he has a decent floor, but I think, again, like, very desperate floor play in terms of a flex. This offense right now, it looks pretty anemic. It looks pretty boring. And I don't see, there's really no one on the Miami offense that I'm, like, excited about starting, to be honest.
Yeah.
So I think we can move on to Cleveland and Minnesota. This is one of the most interesting games of the week. Cleveland is a 2-point road favorite. Over-under is 51.5 there. On the Cleveland side of the ball, Baker, he's always someone you could consider streaming, but it's not pretty because of how much they run the ball, and it's Baker. So I would stay away from Baker even in a shootout. I think there are always going to be better streaming options. Like, I would stream Sam Darnold over him.
Yeah, and the whole team, they do too much on the ground too to have Baker have that much value in any given week.
Yeah. Obviously you're playing Kareem Hunt, you're playing Nick Chubb. Those guys are firing up. I think Odell Beckham, you're playing him. Like
I agree.
With Jarvis Landry out, he had 9 targets the other game.
Yeah, he put up 12 points without a touchdown. That's good. That's good numbers. Like, and it's not like you're drafting him that high if you have Odell Beckham Jr. Like, things have fallen off for him in terms of ADP like drastically. So like, you didn't spend too much, and he's definitely like living up to what you spent then, like based on that first game. And I personally think he continues to do that, especially with Jarvis.
He looks good. Jarvis is on the IR, so he'll be there. He'll be out for 2 more games at least. And with him as the top dog, like he looks good. I mean, I'm not gonna say he looks like the old Odell Beckham, but you know, he was looking pretty explosive. So I would definitely play him as a flex / wide receiver 3, even up to a wide receiver 2, with confidence. And Austin Hooper as a tight end play, I don't mind him. Honestly.
Yeah, I don't mind it either.
If you're a guy that streams the tight end position, Austin Hooper is a guy I'm considering there for sure. On Minnesota's side, obviously you're gonna play. If Cook's, I don't know if Cook's back, but you're gonna play Madison anyway, like Cook or Madison.
Yeah.
You're playing the Minnesota running back, Kirk Cousins. Listen, like he is a very good fantasy quarterback. He's got 8 touchdowns, no picks. He's throwing for 300 yards a game. I think he's going to do it again this game. Adam Thielen, man. Every year he outperforms his ADP too, because every year it's okay. Well, the touchdown regression is going to happen, and it never seemingly does.
It doesn't. He's just a touchdown machine. Like, you gotta start Adam Thielen. You never know when he's going to get 2 touchdowns. Like. It's crazy. And
Justin Jefferson, obviously, he's a stud. You're playing him. And then KJ Hamler.
Wait, what?
Oh wait, no, my bad.
Oh, KJ Osborne. Yeah.
No, my bad. Look, KJ Osborne.
KJ Osborne, you can play.
He's a borderline guy. I mean, he's not in the status of Thielen or Jefferson, but he's there. I mean, desperate. I'm talking 12, even 14 team leagues. I'd say he's there. If you're in a shallower league, no. But
I think that he's like a more risky, like Cole Beasley almost. Like, if he gets a bunch of receptions in the game, like if it's a game for him, then like he's gonna get a bunch of receptions, probably a bunch of yardage, like similar to Cole Beasley output. But he's just like that production is just not as guaranteed as Beasley is.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's a risk, but he's somebody to definitely keep an eye on if he's on your waiver wire.
Yeah.
For sure. So let's move on to my New York Giants. They play. They go on the road to New Orleans.
Yep. The last game we'll be covering in this episode.
New Orleans 7.5 point favorites over the Giants. The over/under is 42 points. So, on the Giants side of the ball, with Shepard's injury concern, even if he's playing, I'm not sure if I'm going to start him. I might come down a little bit.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't. Like, it's just soft tissue injuries, hamstring injuries. Like, these are going to linger. Like, and it's just, you don't know if he's going to finish out the game or if he's like going to be on some very minimal snap count if he does play. Like.
Now I know a lot of people are going to roll their eyes here, but listen, if I need a tight end, like Evan Ingram's going to get volume.
Yeah,
he's going to get volume, and like I know, man, I know. Trust me, I know all about Evan Ingram.
He's so bad. Oh
with the fumbles, but he's gonna. I mean, I just don't see like with Shepard with the injury, Slayton is potentially hurt, like, and Daniel Jones, he knows Evan. At least you know he's gonna get volume. But again, I get it. Like, if you've been there with Evan Ingram, because Evan Ingram's now this is like his 5th year in the league, and his first 3 years. I mean, his rookie year he looked all right. And ever since then, people have been saying, oh, he's so athletic. Oh, he's got so much talent. And I can see if you want to take a more risk on an unknown commodity than Evan Ingram, because he is what he is at this point. but he does usually have at least one or two top 5 tight end finishes.
Yeah.
I understand you're taking a gamble there. This is only if you're desperate at the tight end spot, but just like I don't see he's in a good spot to get volume. So that's pretty much the only person I would even really consider starting.
Well, Saquon.
And obviously, my bad. Saquon is somebody you're firing up now as an every week RB2.
I think that there's potential for a bit of a letdown this week with the Saints defense.
Yeah.
But you probably don't have another better option with Saquon. Like maybe move him over to flex.
And even in a game where it was 17-14 was the final, he still had 21 points. He still had a touchdown. And seeing him leap over the pile again on a goal line touchdown was very relieving to see.
Yeah, and that's big too. Actually, that with Shepard out and Slayton out, he ended up having a lot of receptions, like he normally would in his rookie year. So yeah, Saquon definitely could be back to normal at this point, which would be really nice to see.
In terms of a QB streaming option, I'm not going to stream Daniel Jones this game or Jameis Winston, to be honest.
Yeah, me neither. Jameis is just too inconsistent, and Daniel Jones, honestly, I would have streamed him this matchup despite the brutal matchup against the Saints if he had his actual weapons.
Yeah, exactly.
But he's missing so many people and is up against the Saints defense. Those two in combination, there's always the chance that he does well with his feet and all, but I don't really see him getting much pass production, and I don't think he's gonna put up a good point total without that pass production. If
you do start Daniel Jones, you're hoping for a rushing touchdown. You're praying for a rushing touchdown or two. Mm-hmm. On the Saints side, Kamara
goes without saying. Yeah.
Goes without saying. But Callaway's a drop for me at this point.
He is too. Someone just picked him up in my deeper league, since he just had the blow up game, but even his blow up game was 15 points or something. He's not someone that you're ever gonna be comfortable starting at this point.
So that's not much to touch about there for fantasy. It's a pretty unappealing matchup. Besides maybe each of the team defenses is definitely worth a stream.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Let's go Tennessee and the Jets.
Oh wait, are we doing this?
Oh, okay. No. Actually, yeah. Let's cut it off.
Yeah.
So, anyway, we will be back with we'll round out the 1:00 games. We'll go to the Monday night game in the next episode. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
We'll stay with you. Hopefully, you'll stay with us all season long, and we can get you that fantasy championship. We know how important that is. This is for Kieran and Ronan signing off.
Yep.